So, good morning, good night, good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and today we got from the band Pupil Slicer, we have Kate. She's the vocalist and guitar player, and we're here to talk about the brand new album that's coming out November 7th, Fleshwork. So, Kate, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm really good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good. So I was watching your Instagram feed for the band, and yesterday you were at the BBC Radio.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they premiered the two songs. They played the two songs, the two singles that you have right now. So this is your band's third album, and I've listened. I listened to your last two albums, but I don't remember the first one came in 2020, and Blossom. I think it was 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
They were 21 and 23, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm near to that. And I remember the first thing that stood out to me was when I saw the name Pupil Slicer. I'm like, well, that's a very cool name for a band. So for this album, you kind of like took parts from your first two albums to create the sound. How would you say is the evolution from your previous two records to Fleshwork?
I think we went very polished on the second album, Blossom. And the first one, we didn't really know what we were doing when we made it. So it's sort of a bit more chaotic and unhinged. I think we wanted to go further in the direction of that more unhinged, chaotic sound on this album. Um, but while combining in the sort of songwriting um, expertise we'd gained from the second one. Um, so I think, and we never want to really be repeating ourselves. We want to sort of be making new music that isn't just the same album we've done before. We want to continue pushing ourselves as musicians and really continue just writing the music we like and we enjoy playing. It isn't a targeted thing of we're going to write a song that sounds like this. It's more like we've come up with some ideas and we'll just see where the ideas take us. So it's a very natural process. There was like a little bit of I suppose the only direction when we went into writing this is I didn't want it to be as many sort of um I guess pop songy songs that Blossom had like a little bit more of. But I still write like there's still a couple bits for the people who like sort of clean choruses and stuff on that album. There's still a bit of that in this album, but at the same time, it's like having like 30% of Mirrors come in, 30% of Blossom come in, and then 40% of a new thing. So we're providing stuff for existing fans of both existing albums, but we're also uh, delivering that in a new lens and in a new way.
Okay, so yeah, a perfect way to blend both styles that you did on your previous records. It doesn't sound like a pop record. I
Okay.
because I listened to the full album. So this album, uh, tell us a little bit about the themes that you touch upon on this record.
Yeah, on this record, we sort of I wanted to I felt like the first album was very personal and political, but I also wasn't super confident with my voice as a songwriter. I didn't want to talk about sort of what I was writing around at the time. And then the second album, while still exploring those themes, it was through the lens of the concept album, and it was a bit more fantastical and sci-fi. And I think on this album, I wanted to get a bit more. I felt with everything going on in the world, the rise of fascism around the world, I definitely wanted to go more in depth with and more direct because I think subtlety is sort of being lost on both sides. There's no sort of tiptoeing around the issues like uh the rise of racism in the UK and the amount of misinformation spread and transphobia and uh and sort of anti-immigrant policies in the UK and in the US. There's a lot of that going on, and there's a lot. There's no. It's not happening in subtle ways anymore. It's just in your face, and I think I think the album needed to be more in your face, addressing those topics. So it was sort of overall in the themes of the album. I think I went to try and sort of express frustration with the state of the world and the ways that people are lied to and manipulated, and the culture wars that we find ourselves drawn into um by the sort of those in power, to distract us from the bigger issues going on of billionaires just deciding how the world's going to be, and the the human element that makes up the machinery of our society, and getting to the core of that human element, and really seeing that it all boils down to its humanity and people doing these horrible things to each other, and the only way um, we sort of all need to come together and look after each other instead in a world where things are so polarizing and everyone's so opposed to, and there's so much cruelty in the world, trying to find something to unite people, and just give people myself and listeners a way to express that rage, and something to bring us and our fans together, as a sort of, at least we have each other.
Yeah, no, and there's some great songs on it. So how was the recording process for this one? Was it different from your previous records, or did you do like a similar approach?
It was a different approach in that the first album was sort of very piecemeal. We recorded in different places at different times, and it was our first time making an album, so we didn't really have a method to it. The second album was very intense, with Lewis Johns, where we spent about a month in the studio. And for this one, it was slightly more relaxed, and we did the album in two chunks. Well, three total chunks, with Joe Clayton in Manchester at the studio, and I think we all were a lot more prepared going into the studio on this album, so it made the recording process a lot smoother. Um, the album was probably the easiest to record. It was still very stressful. It always is with the music because you want it to be perfect. You're on a limited time schedule, and it's our baby, the album. We want it to be the best it can be, so it can get very stressful at times, but we're really happy with how it came out. We definitely wanted it to. We were less perfectionist with the takes on this album, and more like we want good takes, but we allowed for a little more humanity to come through in the performances of not needing to be perfect like a machine, because I think for this album to work, it needed to be a bit more raw and sort of unpolished in a way. It's like a polished album, but it's more unpolished. It sounds more like a band in a room in front of you, sort of playing the songs, than a really nicely produced metal album. That was sort of what we were going for with it.
Maybe like a raw vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And for this one, you have a new bass player with Luke Booth. What did he change something the style from having like a new player in the mix?
I don't think it terribly changed the style of the bass that ended up being written. I wrote a majority of the bass on our first two albums already. Um, and I think our old bassist playing was very informed by sort of what I wanted the songs to end up sounding like. And I think Luke Booth coming in sort of he was already a fan of us as a band, and he understood the kind of musical identity we had for the bass parts, because bass is a very large part of our sound as a three piece. We definitely tried to make sure the bass is audible because I feel like it's often overlooked in a lot of metal and hardcore bands. You often can't really hear the bass, and I think that's a shame because there's so many great bassists in metal, and uh, with Luke Booth's parts, he came in, he sort of understood what had come before and had his own flares of what he wanted to add. And the writing process, he would give him the song when me and Josh, our drummer, had finished sort of getting the structure together, it to come back, and it was perfect. It was exactly what I would have sort of written. So I ended up writing a lot less bass on this album than I had before. Um, and it let me focus in other areas a bit more and took a bit of the stress off. And yeah, it was a really smooth process, and we get on really well. So things seem to be going pretty well, and really happy with how the bass came out on this album, and all the albums. Like Luke Fabian's contributions were amazing, and we wish him the best with his other projects.
Yeah, but it sounds like you could focus more on some other stuff like the bass, your guitar playing, other stuff. So I want to talk about the two songs that you have for and the music videos, which are awesome, by the way. So you have Fleshwork, which is in the video chapter one, and you're following someone who I think is like getting out of a war, and then you follow that with Nomad. So tell me a little bit about making the music videos and the tracks themselves.
Yeah, I think we worked with David Gregory again on the music videos for this album. Um, he was really great to work with. He did all of the music videos for Blossom, and he did one for Mirrors as well. And he is really good at sort of understanding tonally and aesthetically what I want the visuals to be. I think for each album we've always approached it with a mood board of like visual influences and the kind of imagery I would envision to go with each of the songs. And usually me and David and Josh, our drummer, have a call and we sort of get out the ideas and the visual um elements to the music. And he then will put together a plan of how he's going to execute that, a treatment for the tracks, and that worked really well. And on this album, I told him about the themes, and he came up with this sprawling story about these clone drones in a war being mind controlled into fighting each other and uh, sort of coming to earn their freedom. There'll be a third video when the album comes out. There'll be like the conclusion. And I think that sort of taps into the themes of the albums of control and manipulation and misinformation are being put against our fellow man in society. And yeah, and the tracks sort of deal with that too. Fleshwork is partly inspired by the manga Chainsaw Man, specifically towards the tail end of the first part of that manga, which deals with sort of um, a controlling manipulator turning people into what they shouldn't be, turning them into machines of war to hurt those around them. And I think that really spoke to me in terms of uh, needing to stand up for yourself so you won't be formed by all the influences around you into something you don't want to be. Because it can be very easy to go with the flow and sort of pick up on like hateful speech and biases um and sort of a learned cruelty to others around you. And how much you bear the responsibility for that as a person, and how much is a product of your environment, and and the kind of ideas of how the human element of that, and how much that affects us as people. And then the track Nomad um, is exploring more about the naivety of myself, and I think a lot of people, into how the world is run. When I was a child, I thought that politicians and people running companies and stuff had some level of accountability. Like, you couldn't just lie, that you couldn't intentionally misrepresent the truth, and that there was some level of, when someone says, I care about the people in my country and I want to do this to help them, etc., that they actually mean that. And it seems that in a lot of history and today, that just simply isn't true. And there's
So
this whole echo chamber of misinformation online, where so much like false information is floating around. There's so much um incendiary content that's really just designed to stoke the flames of um making people angry. um and the actual sort of genuine artistry, or like useful parts of communication of the internet, are getting lessened more and more, as the internet tends towards becoming a platform um for inciting hatred. Like, you can make a I'm pretty sure people have done stuff where you can make an empty account on like on TikTok, and scroll like 10 times, and in that time it will start showing you Andrew Tate stuff about how yeah, all women are beneath you, and things like that, or how it's good that he trafficked people in human trafficked people, um, or just as much. You'll get stuff in the UK saying that, oh yeah, there's not a single white person left in Birmingham, and it's all immigrants who've taken over, and it's like, I've been on tour through Birmingham 4 times in the last 3 years, and I'm like, our shows, yeah, I'll give it up. Our shows, the audiences are a majority white audiences, but it's like, so where did the white people at our Birmingham show come from? Is that all the white people in Birmingham our show? I don't think so. It's quite ludicrous that they're then using that as an argument to be like, this is why we need to get rid of all these people in our country, uh because all these things are happening, and the things just aren't happening. So it's pretty crazy to me, and I think that was something I really wanted to address on the tracks.
yeah, that happens every country. I'm in Puerto Rico, and they say Venezuela's going to invade us. Or some shit like that. You're like, no, they're not going to invade us. That so yes, I hope the third video is for the album closer, because that's a great song. I think Zenot, which is like an 8 minute track. I don't know. I hope maybe I hope I'm right that that's the third single and the third video, because it's a. But obviously you can tell me offline. But yeah, it's a great track and a great way to end the album. And yeah, the album, it's extreme sometimes, but you also feel like the emotion. Like, so I think it's a perfect blend of like what you did with Blossom and more like Mirrors, like doing like a perfect mixture of both of the styles. So I want to show the artwork, which is a pretty, it's a pretty simple artwork for this album. But I want to ask you, obviously, what you were going for with the artwork. So here's the artwork for Fleshwork. So tell me a little bit about what the band was going for with this.
Yeah, I mean, on this album, I did all of the visual design work myself, and I was kind of trying to get something industrial. I was a little bit inspired by like Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral, where it kind of sets the atmosphere for the album before you go in, of like a very rusted, in that case, like decrepit, like things not being quite right. And I've done the same here, where you've sort of got the metallic, the industrial, the machinery of society, and inside, just glowing through, there's just the blazing fire of like uncontrollable hatred and rage inside, that's like barely contained, and like there's embers flying about. And I think that was like, I've designed it so that, yeah, when you open the album sleeve, pull out the liner notes for the album, the entire page is just flames. Uh, so you've sort of got that contained within. And I think that was kind of. I don't think, I know it's why I designed it. I don't know why I'm saying I think all these things. Um, yeah, that was sort of what I was going for with the artwork, and I think I'm really pleased with how it came out.
Yeah, and I like that you say Nine Inch Nails, because I thought that because of the logo, because Nine Inch Nails, they used to put the NIS
Yeah.
in the box on it. Oh, so yeah, it's very downward spiral, and downward spiral, like almost the it's so funny. I have it right here.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it's like that minimalistic, but you can tell that there's something lurking. So yeah, I can tell like that you got inspired by that one. So the album's gonna be out in a few weeks. Are you guys gonna be like is there shows that you guys are gonna be playing soon?
Yeah, from the 25th of October till the 30th, we're on tour with LNNN in the UK. I wouldn't be able to remember where we're playing, but you can probably look at our tour poster very quickly. I think we're doing London on the 30th. We're doing Bristol in the Exchange on the 25th, Nottingham Bodega 26th, Manchester Rebellion 27th, Glasgow Slay 28th, and Leeds Brunel Social Club on the 29th, and then London the Underworld on the 30th. So beyond that, we don't have much planned for next year yet, but we're waiting to see what sort of tour offers come in after the album comes out, and hopefully we'll be out be out in Europe, and hopefully further afield before too long.
Okay. And it's out the November 7th, Prosthetic Records. I'll post the link for people who want to pre-order the album. So, Kate, I want to thank you for taking some time of your day to chat with me all about Fleshwork and other topics. So, before I let you go, anything you like to say to the fans before we go?
Um, yeah, just look after each other, and try to, where you can, try and be a nice person. Be try and be kinder. If you ever feel feeling hate towards another person, try and be a kinder person. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, nice closing thoughts. So, Couchers, the new album by Pupil Slicer-Fleshwork, out November 7th. So, you can check out Nomad and Fleshwork. The videos are out, and there will be a fair music video, and I will find out offline if I was right with my pick. So, until next time, Couchers, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.